Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Copilot Compass, where each week we take a deep dive into Microsoft 365 Copilot. As always, I have the pleasure of being joined by my esteemed colleague, fellow Copilot enthusiast, and resident smart guy, Logan.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And Logan, why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about what they can expect from this week's episode?
Yeah. So as always, we're going to get started with our question of the week, and then we'll get into our topic, which is Copilot and Pages. So it should be interesting. I'm excited to get into it. And make sure you stay tuned to the end for a sneak preview of what we have next, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Awesome. Let's dive in.
Cool. Let's do it. Okay, so let's get into our question of the week. And remember, you can submit your own question with either the link in the description or just leave a comment on this video. So this week, our question is, what was the first use case you found Copilot helpful with when you initially got your license?
Yeah, first use case. Good question. I think, Outlook, just because I live and breathe in Outlook every day. Um, the use case that I first started with was really, I don't know which one came first, but like summarizing long email threads. Just asking it, like, rather than having to read through, a bunch of back and forths, especially like if I was traveling or something, didn't really have access to my computer. I'm catching up, end of the day in a hotel or something, or on a flight back home. That function was really, really helpful for me rather than skimming through, 12 or 15 different responses in a single thread and trying to catch up on it, just the quick summary. The other one that was helpful was, with kind of like what I'd call like medium in length responses, like there's certainly things that I might want to just acknowledge, like, hey, I've received this, I'll take this forward, that type of quick response. I wasn't using Copilot for that right away, but those where it was more like, hey, I want to acknowledge receipt and I want to, ask about X, Y, and Z information. I was kind of using Copilot, giving it that prompt, having it get me like a starting place, and then I'm revising that draft. Like, I don't really ever think I just kind of, took it at its word and clicked send, but more like, hey, this gave me a starting place. And now I'm just tweaking it to, have more of my tone and, voice with it. But yeah, I think those are the ones for me. What about you, Logan? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first got my license, I was definitely a little bit hesitant to use it in a lot of places. But the first thing I remember about it really helping me out was actually in Excel. I remember I was like banging my head against some formula that I could figure out. And then I just thought, what the heck, let me try out this Copilot that I just got. And it actually like totally helped me out. And that moment kind of converted me a little bit. And I started using it a bunch of different things. But yeah, that was probably the first time I really saw the usefulness.
Yeah, it's some of those things, like when we talk to people that are like, our co-pilot champions at organizations we work with. It's a lot of times it's, there's that aha moment where it
Yeah.
was like, hey, this sounds cool and promising, but then there's that one or two use cases that are early that, kind of stuck with them and said, okay, this is really cool. What else is possible? So it's a good aha moment for you, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, well, should we ready to talk about pages?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so our topic of the week this week is pages. And pages and loop are basically kind of one and the same. Think of loop basically like your OneNote, and pages more like, those materials and the sets of pages and kind of groupings of pages that you might use in your OneNote. But a lot of times, like, our first use case today that we're going to show is, sharing ideas. A lot of times Copilot might tell you, hey, collaborate in pages, which is not an incorrect statement, but I just wanted to clarify that point because I think a lot of times our customers get confused of, hey, you were talking about pages, but now I see loop, or vice versa. So, we'll show you what that looks like and show you what loop itself is, as well as how you can interact with Copilot and then bring those thoughts into pages. So with that in mind, we do have two crow's nests today. The first one is some use cases we've touched on a little bit in previous episodes, but worth diving into since we have a dedicated episode here for pages. But this is going to be, sharing thoughts and ideas with your team members in pages. So we'll walk you through that use case where you kind of start out with the Copilot app and then, bring those ideas into pages. That'll be our first demo. Our second crow's nest today is going to be more about the use cases of Copilot within the Pages app itself. So we'll show you, if you're rather than necessarily starting with an idea in like the Copilot app and then bringing it into Pages, instead in that second demo, we're going to show you generating those thoughts and ideas native to Pages, and some of those, quick, easy use cases there. I think Pages is one of those ones that, it took me, the first time I used it, I found it to be a little bit more, um, probably not as user friendly as like a OneNote, but just with a little bit of time and investment, like it really is, OneNote on steroids. So, um, certainly something I'm using Pages on a daily basis and Loop on a daily basis. So I'm really excited to share some of these use cases with you guys. So with that, Logan, are you ready to dive into the first crow's nest?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, so our first demo here, we're starting out in the Copilot app. In this case, I'm just using the web browser. And, common scenario here, we've got maybe a plan we need to make, or we need to, plan for some type of an event, or maybe we're just brainstorming some ideas, but we're going to use Copilot sort of as an intelligent assistant. We're going to share with it some prompts and, some ideas, give it some coaching, refine those ideas, and then, take it forward to the next step. Now, in the business realm, probably a more common scenario here is you're going to be, let's say you're trying to build a marketing campaign or go-to-market strategy around a new product. You've already got like kind of like a product overview or some project plans, like some development plans, stuff like that. Maybe some material on what the product is going to look like. And now you're prompting Copilot, hey, based on this information, build me a marketing plan. Now to do that, I'm going to use the work tab here of M365 Copilot, where it grounds it with work context using Microsoft Graph. That's really where the true value is of Microsoft 365 Copilot. But, for the purpose of the demo, I don't want to confuse it with information from Graph. So I'm going to go ahead and stay right here in the web version. And I'm going to put Logan on the spot here a little bit. So for the purposes of this demo, give me either a very serious or a very unserious idea for a theoretical, business case of when we might want to build out some kind of a plan.
Okay. Let's do a marketing plan for my favorite NBA team, the Boston Celtics, to increase season ticket sales.
Awesome. Okay, so we're increased, and which I'm just realizing, so interesting that you are a Boston Celtics fan living in Los Angeles.
Yes, so yeah, it's tough out here, but
Tough out there, yeah.
yeah.
It helps when they win. So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right. So back to the topic at hand here. So I'm going to say, build a marketing plan to increase season ticket sales for the Boston Celtics. Those of you unfamiliar, the Boston Celtics are one of the 30 teams in the NBA, the National Basketball Association. They were world champions last year, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're trying to increase season ticket sales, it looks like. All right, so I've given the Copilot that basic prompt, and it's given me, let's take a quick look here. So it's broken out into sections here. So I have a market research and analysis. I've got strategic goals, and then I kind of get into some marketing strategies, got some subsections in here. I've got digital marketing, content marketing, promotions and discounts. Okay, community engagement. So it's saying local events, school partnerships, all this great stuff. Okay. And then monitoring and evaluation. Okay. Um, this is looking good. I think this is a good layout, a good starting place where we can sort of start to fill in those blanks. Now let's say, in the real world, I'm probably going to give it a bunch of prompts like, hey, I want to add this section. Like maybe, for example, if we are the Boston Celtics or we're a marketing company working with the Boston Celtics, maybe fan experience is part of a different department, and that's not something that we're doing. So we might want to strike that from the plan. So we'll tell Copilot, get rid of this, maybe add some sections to it. So for this, again, usually it's going to take a lot of iterations, or I shouldn't say a lot, but several. Now, maybe I want to say add more details to the early bird discount, including what percentage of discount would be offered. So I'm saying, hey, make that section a little bit more detailed. And really, again, real world. We're probably doing that with a lot of these sections, but okay, so now it's giving me that. So I'm going to say, now let's say I want to have, this is great. This gives me some better ideas for this. So I'm going to say, add this content to the original plan you had provided. Okay. And now I can see it starting out again with that original plan. We can go look and see, okay, now under this early bird pricing, what I really like that Copilot did for me here is the level of detail that it provided me when I asked that prompt was great. It was helpful for me to see that more detail, but for the sake of this plan, you can see from the rest of it, it's very high level. So it changed the tone of that to be more high level and align with the rest of the material in here. So it didn't go too crazy with this early bird section. Now, okay, again, real world, I'm probably going to do some more prompting on this sake of the demo. I'm going to call this good enough. And now in this, theoretical world, let's say that, I'm some marketing person and Logan runs the promotions and discounts. So I might want to collaborate with him and have him provide his inputs and 2 cents with what we have. So couple of options here. One is, I scroll down at the bottom here. I've got that copy icon, or, I could obviously just drag all this and copy it the old school way. And then maybe I put it in a Word document, send it an email to Logan, Teams chat, whatever that experience might look like for us. But I'm going to make it a little bit simpler. And I'm going to click, you'll see down here, this edit in pages. So I'll go ahead and select that icon. And what you're going to see here is it's now split the screen for me here. So this isn't the full-blown Pages in Loop experience, but it's kind of like a Pages in Loop light, so to speak. So I've got the plan in here, and I can make, changes to this material on the fly. Like, let's say this current sales trends, maybe I'll just delete this. I don't think that this is necessary for my plan. Maybe we already kind of had that information not in scope for the purposes of this project plan. So now let's say I'm good to go with this. I like where the page is at. I've got everything in here. I've added in a few items, but I want to take it a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go ahead and go right into loop at this point. One other point too is, let's say I want to have Logan take, let's say I'm moving on. I've got a starting place, and now I'm deferring this whole plan to Logan. I might share this. I can just copy the link right here from the share experience, send it to Logan, and give him a quick note of, hey, I've started out this quick project plan. Take a look at this. I think this will be helpful for you. And I'm moving on from it. But let's say I want to develop this further and we really want to collaborate on this. I'm going to go to Loop, and this is, Pages is embedded here within Loop. And I'll go to just this My Workspaces section, and it's going to pull up for me here that most recent thing that I've just worked on. So here I am. This is that page now in Loop, and I can still make my edits here as usual. But now let's say that I want to bring in Logan here. So I'll go ahead and click this share button. Now there's a couple of options to share. I can embed certain components of the page. Like, let's say maybe there was some financial breakdowns here in this plan, and Logan's in finance now. I want to just have him verify that. But maybe there's other sensitive information in this that I don't want Logan to see for whatever reason. I can, embed certain components of it. But in this case, I'm sharing with him the whole darn thing. So I want to give him the page link. So I'll go ahead and select this icon here. It's going to copy for me that link. And then what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and send this right over to Logan. And now he's going to receive a link here in his Teams. He's going to pop that open and get in here to the page. So as he's doing that, let's say this target audience. So Logan is responsible for identifying this group. So maybe what I want to do is I'm going to add a comment, and I'm going to say at Logan, select his name from here. Can you add the target audience and include more details? And away it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and, click that. So now Logan's got a couple things here. He's already got the link. If he scrolls through the document, he's going to see his name mentioned right here in this box. He's also going to receive an email notification that he was referenced here. So a couple of ways we're going to get to him. And now I can even see here, Logan is in here. He's in this file. He's in the page. He's editing, and, eventually if he responds to this comment, I'm going to see that come up. So Logan, if you can just reply to that, and
Yeah.
we'll show what that experience looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so I can see a couple of things just changed, very small. there's this purple dot that has shown up. So new changes were made to this section. Now, let's say if Logan, maybe I sent him this link, I logged off for the night and he's done a bunch of work overnight. I can still come back here the next day and see these purple buttons wherever Logan made changes, whatever sections he did. I'll also see here there's a one reply and I can pop this open. He says, yep, he's going to do that. So um, very good. Now, let's say Joanna from our team is responsible for, this season ticket membership item. So what I can do here is if I want to add in her, I want to say at Joanna. Can you please verify? Now, the other thing you're going to see here is I forgot to add Joanna. I didn't send her this link, so she doesn't have access to this file yet, or this page, I should say. So now I can see it's got this red icon for me here, and I can just simply add her in by pressing this button right here. Gives Joanna the link as well as the comment I'm about to provide. So this is great. We've got a good starting place, a great way for us to interact. You can see at the surface, this looks fairly similar to like, hey, what's different than what I can do in Word? What I will say is this is going to have some different integrations. We've found it to be a little bit easier on collaboration perspectives than Word for these types of, project plans, marketing plans, things like that. A little bit more user friendly, a little bit more fun. I even think like this, the user experience is a little bit better, a little bit simpler to use, but that kind of, gives us a conclusion here on our first demo. Now we'll shift gears and show you more of, hey, what does it look like if I'm building this material raw in Pages? So we'll go ahead and transition to that demo now. All right, so now we're going to show you how you can use Copilot directly in Loop. So as I mentioned, you can think of Loop a lot like OneNote, but a little bit better from a collaboration perspective. So like OneNote is split up into sections and pages, Loop is split up into workspaces and pages. So workspaces, you can think of it as like broad topics containing separate pages with ideas. So let's say in the case of our Boston Celtics plan, maybe we want to have a workspace for increasing season ticket sales, and then we want to create pages for the events that we're doing at schools, and then pages for the discounting that we might do for early bird specials. So we might break those down into individual pages. So if I want to create something new, I've got this option right here to just, create new, and it's going to give me those two options. So right here, I'm just seeing, just right now, I'm not in a workspace, so I'm only seeing workspaces. If I was already in a workspace and I select this from the left pane, it's going to give me those two options. It can say create a new page, which it's going to by default select that page to go under the workspace I'm already in, or, create a brand new workspace and take me, just to the same experience here. So I'll go ahead and select, I want to create a new workspace just to show you what this looks like. And I'm going to say Boston Celtics season ticket marketing plan. Sensitivity label, we'll label this as none. And I'm going to go ahead and just say, I'm going to go ahead and invite Logan right here from scratch. And I'm going to go ahead and just create it. So it's giving me a basic workspace. It's only got one page here. Now I mentioned we can create new pages under here. And just like OneNote, it's going to title the page by default what I have in here. So let's say I want to, I'm going to say executive summary. And what I can do here is I've got Copilot right down here at the bottom for me since I am licensed already with M365 Copilot. So I can have it reuse pages. I can use templates. I'll show you what that means in a second here. But let's say that I want this to, we'll give it the same prompt. I want to create a marketing plan for increasing season ticket sales for the Boston Celtics. And I will go ahead and select that. And it's going to do, kind of similar to that Copilot app, but it's just going to put it right here in Loop for me. So it's working on it. It's coming up with its thoughts and ideas. It's going to show us those here in just a moment. Now I can see it popped it all up here for me. So added some visuals for me here. It's got a cover icon of a basketball marketing plan for increasing the sales. It's got this executive summary. What are the objectives who's the target audience, strategies and tactics. Honestly, I like so far it's already looking better in our first demo. It's a little bit more what I was looking for here. It's added in. You can start to see some of the differences here with, I mentioned some of this, at the surface, you might think, well, can't I just do all this in Word? Again, I like the experience here a little bit better, a little bit more friendly. I can add in sections, which I'll show you in just a moment, but it's giving me some tables that I might want to have here. What are the costs for those metrics? So it's got a good amount of stuff in for me here. So I've got my plan as a starting place. I've shared this site already with Logan. As I showed you in the last demo, I can, add him in here if I want. Now, there's some other options for us here with creating a page from scratch. So what I'm going to show you here is I've got this, let's say I'm going to create a new page. What I'm going to do here with this one is I'm going to say use a loop template. And it's got for me 24 templates that are out of the box. So it's got, a project brief, a common one to use, team decision, project planning, meeting notes, some of these common things that you might, these make a lot of sense. Marketing plans in here, MVP. Let's say we want to do what do you think here, Logan? Stand-up meeting, action heroes, product wiki, bad idea, brainstorming. What do you want to do?
Let's do a stand-up meeting.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and select that. I can edit with Pages. I can use this template. I'm going to go ahead and select this Edit with Pages button. And, let's say create a page based on stand-up meeting for a weekly check-in on our Boston Celtics marketing plan to increase season ticket sales. And so it's got this kind of template for me that it started out with. You can see it's created a background image for me. It's got an icon, so on and so forth. So let's say I can kind of scroll through this now. It's given me, it's taken that template it had. It's given it some customization based on the prompts I had in here. And I'll say, I'll go ahead and keep the draft. So there you have it. So now I've kind of got this as my starting place. Now, maybe, let's say I've got a scenario where the templates don't quite work for me, or I want to build something from scratch. I can certainly do that. And we'll show you, this isn't a Copilot specific feature, but I'll show you the options that you have here. We can add an icon. You saw that basketball icon before. We can add a cover. I showed you, the other page we were just looking at had one. So let's say I want to, click this one, add an icon. I've got pirate theme. We'll stick with our, Copilot Compass theme here. My title for this, I'm going to say pirate plan of attack. And then I've got lots of options here. So I can just start typing like as if it's a Word document. I can use the Copilot icon here to give, some suggestions on what I might want to cover here. I've also got this insert, and this is where I think it's really cool. So I can, use Copilot up here at the top, draft page content or summarize the page. But I can do lots of different things. So I could include a table. I could do a checklist, bulleted list, numbered list, put in a date, do a call out here, put in some code, math equations. There's all sorts of different things. So one thing that we like to use is like these headings. So I can, kind of like in Word with the table of contents in there, we can do some of that stuff in here. So let's say that I want to have, and I'll just we won't go into all these, but just show you down here. There's task lists, voting tables, so on and so forth. So voting tables are cool. If we've got a bunch of us that are working on a marketing plan, maybe we're deciding, hey, do we want that early bird discount to be 3% or 4% or 5%? So maybe we just create a voting poll, open it up to the folks that are working on it and share it there. So let's say I want to build this out as a template. So I want to have, let's say, an agenda will be covered in this first section. I'm going to include some bulleted lists right here. Item 1, item 2, item 3, we'll fill those in later, each week. And then now I want to split up the sections. So let's say I want to put in what we like to use here is going to be this plus icon again. So we'll go down. There's a divider option. So that kind of gives you a visual split between these items. And then now I'm going to add in another section. Let's say I want to add in another heading, executive summary. And again, now this one I want to just say insert 1 to 2 paragraph summary. No, I won't go, we'll spare you guys the time, but you can see kind of how this is working. You can play around with it, see those different options for you. And now what I want to do is, let's say this is something that I'm going to use every week. Like this is, for full transparency, we do use pages when we, plan our episodes out. So, there might be certain sections that we're constantly documenting, as far as our plan. uh, we don't have a whole lot of plan, but whatever we do have, we're using in Pages. So, maybe there's a template that we're following each week. So I want to save this as like a starting place. That way I don't have to start from scratch every week, and it creates a consistent feel and experience. So what I can do here is I can go right down here and I can save this page as a template and make this one of those templates that's available for me next time I need a new page. So really cool way if you've got something that you're consistently doing, for planning their consistent meeting that you're holding every week, that you need multiple folks to provide inputs, for the agenda going into it. Maybe there's documents that you're constantly, like your marketing team, you're always getting new products given to you and you're creating new plans for it, but you're following that same structure. These templates can be really, really helpful for you, not only in the speed at which it takes you to create that first draft, but also, in the consistency and the look and feel that, others that need to maybe just be informed and consume it, they know exactly where they're going. So hopefully you found some of this useful. Really encourage you, if you haven't used Pages and Loop, experiment with this. It may take you a little bit to get used to it, but honestly, it's pretty user friendly. A lot of really cool stuff in here. So really recommend you trying this out. In today's journey of the Copilot Compass, we talked about collaboration with Copilot in Pages. We talked about kind of what Loop and Pages are. We showed you a couple of good use cases with it. First one, we showed you taking some prompting that I might be doing in the Copilot app, with Copilot Chat, something like that. And then taking those thoughts and then bringing them into Pages and Loop and sharing those out for collaboration with others. And then in our second demo, we showed you how to build directly in Pages and talk to you about workspaces and then those pages, and how you can build material there. And we gave you just a really quick overview of some of the features and functions that you can use there and how it enhances the Word document type of experience. But really recommend, we touched on those very briefly. Please do, go ahead and try this out on your own. Find some of those features and functions that work well for you. But we hope you found some of that useful.
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed these use cases. I really hadn't started using Loop until pretty recently, but I've really enjoyed it. I feel like it has a lot of just like simple, intuitive design, and the Copilot integration is awesome. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed. And we also have the Q&A sessions at the beginning of each episode. So make sure you leave a comment with your own question. And new episodes are released every Tuesday. And make sure you stay tuned to get a sneak preview of what we have next.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.